My wife socially isolates herself and hates people for no good reason, which is starting to give me an ick. Despite being 28 years old, my wife and I have had our share of disagreements, especially with regard to socializing and people. I'm a social butterfly that is constantly excited to meet and spend time with new people. Conversely, my spouse is the complete opposite. She detests social interaction and seems to get a certain kick out of making people dislike her. She seems to be on a mission, carefully examining everyone she encounters in an attempt to reveal some ulterior motive. This is one of her habits that might escalate a small miscommunication into a major complaint that she holds very strongly. For the decade we've been together, this difference between us has been a constant backdrop to our relationship. She has misgivings about individuals, yet she hardly ever stops me from having fun in my own social life. Giving her the space she needs while I carry on interacting with the outside world in my own unique way is how I've learned to handle this part of our relationship. Sometimes she goes out with me, especially if there's another couple. Even in these situations, though, her contempt is evident. For example, she has never been friends with my friend's girlfriend, even though we have made multiple attempts to get them out on double dates. When the COVID pandemic hit, her company shifted to remote work, a change that she welcomed with open arms. The arrangement became permanent, and while she relishes the comfort of our home as her office, it has also meant that her interactions with the outside world have dwindled to almost nothing. She now ventures out only for errands or when absolutely necessary, and even then, it's often just with me. This isolation seems to be taking a toll on her. The lack of regular, diverse social interaction appears to be intensifying her negative traits. Recently, any suggestion from me that she should meet up with friends or join me for a social event is met with sharp resistance. She maintains a connection with a couple of her old friends through messages, yet she hasn't seen them in person for years, despite the fact that they live just a few minutes away. Her increasing irritability isn't just limited to refusals to socialize. It has started to seep into our daily interactions. There are days when the atmosphere at home becomes particularly strained, with tensions simmering just beneath the surface. I find myself walking on eggshells, trying to gauge her mood before speaking, a stark contrast to the open and easy communication we used to share. Even with these difficulties, I realize her actions are not coming from a bad place. Instead, they may be due to some hidden worry or fear. I've thought that her critical opinions of others might be her way to guard against any letdowns or pains. This understanding has made it easier for me to respond with more kindness and patience. However, it's still a tricky job to find the middle ground between honoring her limits and urging her to move beyond her usual comfortable circle. Navigating a relationship where social preferences clash so starkly has never been simple, and as years pass, these contrasts often magnify, becoming more than just trivial disagreements. I've always known that my wife has a distinct distaste for social gatherings, a stark contrast to my own extroverted nature. Typically, to maintain peace, I've allowed her the space to opt out, choosing instead to engage socially on my own terms. This compromise, while not perfect, has served as an uneasy truce between my social appetite and her preference for solitude. However, a recent encounter has begun to challenge the delicate balance we've managed to maintain. I met a woman in college who quickly became a good friend, and her partner is equally likable. Both of them have proven to be wonderful additions to my circle, bringing with them the kind of enriching, engaging interactions that I thrive on. They proposed the idea of a double date, excited at the prospect of meeting my wife, especially since they share several interests with her. It seemed like a perfect opportunity to perhaps bridge the gap between my social world and her isolated one. Eagerly, I shared this with my wife, highlighting their commonalities in the hope of sparking her interest. However, her reaction was dishearteningly swift and harsh. She dismissed the shared interests, particularly scoffing at the books my new friend enjoyed, labeling them as trash, and declaring a preemptive dislike for someone she had never met. This response wasn't unusual for her, but it struck a different chord this time. It wasn't just disapproval I felt, but a deeper sense of disgust at the relentless negativity. It's one thing to have preferences. It's another to cultivate disdain so eagerly. This has more to do with being receptive to human interactions and experiences than it does with just having different literary tastes. Whether it comes to interests, opinions, or hobbies, my friends and I have always valued our diversity. These differences don't divide us. Instead, they help us understand and respect each other more. The tough part is my wife tends to see these differences as big hurdles, which is becoming harder and harder for me to come to terms with. To be honest, it's quite exhausting. When she says something negative about others, it drains my energy bit by bit. It's tough to be around someone who is caught up in negativity, which makes me wonder about the future of our relationship if this doesn't change. Love and dedication have brought us to this point, but as her negativity increases, so does my frustration. I'm thinking about what to do next. Should I keep going with the social life alone, understanding she might not ever join this important part of my life? Or is there a way to carefully question her views, to show her that differing doesn't mean lower or scary? This is a complicated balance to keep because while I want to respect her individuality, I also wish she could appreciate the happiness and growth that comes from interacting with different people. Maybe it's time for a sincere talk about how her negativity impacts our relationship. It's important for her to see that she does not need to change who she is, but she needs to show respect. Respect for my friends, for people I care about, and for the social life that gives me energy. It may also help to explore why she dislikes social activities so much. Could it be linked to a past event, insecurity, or something unspoken? Understanding the why could help us figure out the how of our future dealings. When I approach her, it's important to do so not with blame, but with an open mind. I need to tell her how important it is to me that she at least tries to understand why my friendships and social life matter so much. It's not about forcing her into situations she's uncomfortable with. Rather, it's about achieving mutual respect for what we both value. This discussion, though possibly hard, is needed to ensure our relationship can grow and adapt rather than get stuck in unspoken frustration. Our differing attitudes towards social activities indeed made our path together interesting and sometimes a bit complicated. As we deal with this constant issue, I'm still hopeful that we'll find a balance where she feels protected and listened to, and I can still have fun socializing, which motivates me. We're not trying to change each other, but we aim to understand and support each other better, building a bridge between our worlds step by step through each talk and every experience we share together. So, the challenge lies in finding a balance that respects her boundaries but also encourages her to occasionally step beyond them, not just for my happiness, but for the health of our relationship. It's about ensuring that our union is a partnership of growth and understanding, where both of us feel valued and heard. As we navigate these troubled waters, I remain hopeful that with patience and love, we can find a way forward together. Edit. It feels so exhausting to be around someone this socially miserable all the time. I love people, and I'm struggling to be around someone who is so hateful. I tolerated it before, but it just seems to be getting worse and worse. How should I navigate this? Maybe I'm doing something wrong here, and if so, please feel free to put me in my place. Here are a few collected comments that share thoughts from a wide range of viewpoints. Everyone feels that the original poster and his wife in this story are going through their own pain, and there is no right or wrong. Toxic negativity is both draining and infectious. You need to tell your wife everything you just told us. Make sure she knows that the persistent negativity is bringing you down and making you start to view her in a negative light, and you don't want that. She needs to work on becoming a more accepting and easygoing person who is less judgmental. Anything less will poison your relationship over the years. Another one is, it sounds like this woman has no relationships outside of her husband. As a corollary to this, he's got to stop pushing her to socialize. I'm with her on this one. I could go the rest of my life without attending a social event and be perfectly happy. Extroverts don't seem to understand this and assume that anyone who doesn't crave constant interaction with others like they do must have a problem, and it's annoying as hell. It can actually lead to feeling like you need to come up with a valid excuse for why you don't want to go out, which could be part of why she acts that way. That said, it's entirely possible for people with mismatched social needs to get along. My wife goes out to a karaoke bar with friends on the weekends, and I hang at home with the kids. It's a perfect setup. Every now and then, she'll want to show me off or something, and I'll stop by for an hour, but she has pre-excused my leaving early, so it's not stressful. I can handle grabbing a drink in public with random people for an hour or two. If I had to sit there while my social butterfly happily flitted around until closing, then I'd go crazy. Double dates are also a huge issue. There's so much pressure to socialize and connect. For those of us who don't enjoy that stuff, it's somewhat akin to the anxiety others can feel going to a job interview. If he wants his introverted wife to join him more often in social outings, It is important that he understands how she feels and provides her with an escape route. She could agree on a prearranged signal that means we need to leave, or set the expectation up front that your couple may need to leave early. Having these options available can significantly reduce her stress. The third one, your wife sounds a lot like my mom. I've had actual conversations with my dad where he has admitted to me that he's always had to pull the social weight in their marriage. She also loves to hate on people, like when she gets going. Whoa, I had to unlearn a lot of that stuff as an adult. I still fall into it sometimes, so I try to watch myself. It just sounds to me like your wife needs to scale it back, or at least become more aware of it. I agree with everyone that you should talk to her about this. She may not be aware of how extreme it's gotten. While it's probably healthy on a human level to dip into hate on everyone mode on occasion, you can't live there all the time. And you probably can't force her to be more social, but it sounds like it would probably help if she had some regular socialization in her life. The combo of work from home plus being antisocial is probably not great for her in the long run. There is a comment in response repeating, "This is not introversion. This is someone hating people with very little reason. I'm a classic introvert. Being social is a taxing drain on me, and my idea of a good time is staying home. But not once have I said, I hate everybody, and that's why I don't want to socialize." What Opie wrote was shockingly toxic. Last but not least, hey, don't have kids till this is sorted out, if you're thinking of having any, and wishing you the best. Oh God, imagine the kids being the target of all that negativity. Even if she doesn't subject the kids to it, there's no way any kids will have a healthy upbringing and social network in this environment, and that will have lifelong effects. OMG, those kids would be so miserable and unhealthy. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.